Hey, everybody. For those of you who have been waiting since, well, most of the last hour, I apologize. I was trying to find the actual press release that the Athletics released announcing the ballpark design and the renderings. That was 23rd of May of this year. And the problem is you have to wade through a lot of articles that really, when you think about it, aren't as many as they should be because it doesn't matter if it's Google or Bing or Yahoo or DuckDuckGo, those search engines limit you to only 4 pages of results, which means there's a lot of information on a subject. In this case, the athletics, Las Vegas ballpark renderings, that gets left out for the circle jerk. In other words, those articles that simply repeat what the other article said, and so on and so on and so on. As far as I'm concerned, folks, to take a bit of a digression for a second, that should be worthy of a congressional investigation. Because what happens is you get one point of view, but you don't get the other. And it goes back to what I said in a video blog when I was criticizing the look that Ken Rosenthal did at the athletics matter with respect to the Oakland A's and said that he's not doing journalism. And I don't call myself a journalist. And that's one reason why, because I'm not pretending, okay, to be a journalist. I am a blogger. There's a difference. A blogger lets you know what their biases are. You can choose to like them or not. And the reasons for those, you can choose to like them or not. But you know where I'm coming from, okay? If I have a sponsored post, I'll let you know. Why? Because I'm happy that the organization that sponsored the post or hired Zenny62 Media to get out their message did just that. They're not hiding in the shadows. They want you to know there's a problem. Again, I digress. Those are the primary reasons I do not call myself a journalist, and I'm forcing the issue because journalism must effectively change to, well, really what it was supposed to be. If you're going to be a journalist and you're going to say that you look at something objectively, then get both sides of it, not one side. But we don't get that now. And Matt Tabby, who I thought was on the opposite side of the political spectrum from me, but it looks like he's changing, okay, just released something in his newsletter that pointed out one of the revelations in this entire affair regarding Twitter and Facebook is that the press was being used to censor information from, of all people, the Biden White House. And yes, I'm a Joe Biden supporter. That's disappointing. I can go on and on and on. Folks, your media is being manipulated right under your nose. It's wrong. All of that comes back to what I want to talk to you about right now and why I had this photograph that some may take umbrage to, but I think it's really quite accurate when you actually look at it regarding the message I was trying to send. I've been trying to send with respect to this issue of information and how people are not reading what is out there, taking time to read it when it is presented to them. Okay. So, in order to make the message hit home, I basically reached back to a familiar source for some people, presented in this famous photo or this famous image that I used as the basis for a new photo. Yeah, Biff. Biff saying to George McFly, "Hello, McFly," but knocking on his head, which is actually a form of assault, but nonetheless, okay. Biff was telling George McFly, "Hey, get with it." So what I'm saying to those of you who choose to paint this picture as, oh well, this is another example of this whole deal falling apart and the A's not knowing what they're doing. Hello, McFly. Biff says The Oakland A's initial renderings were never the one. In other words, that wasn't the final design at all. And all you had to do was read the initial press release, still available on the A's website, that communicates this. And it is shocking and surprising how many people don't take time to read. But it is a crisis. And it is something that the problem was first brought to my attention by none other than the famous actor from Jaws and a number of movies, Richard Dreyfuss, when I had the pleasure of interviewing him at the Night of Wonder Stars Oscar party in 2009. And then he repeated, 2010, and then he repeated the same message in 2012, that civics, the interest in information, how institutions work, your government, is only taught by 3% of the schools in the United States. And that was then. I shudder to think of what it is right now. Okay? We're at an information crisis point, and it has found its way into the very subject that you're here to talk about. And so here is, for those of you who are saying, okay, what is it that we missed, Zenny, in the A's press release? This is what you missed. This is the original press release. Athletics released first renderings of club's proposed new ballpark in Las Vegas. Now, this is carefully worded, folks. All right. The Athletics knew precisely what they were doing when they put this out. I said it then, I'll say it now. They were trying to buy time to get something safe through the legislature. They didn't have the bandwidth or the luxury of really, focusing on the ballpark design, and they wanted to get it something that was interesting yet conventional, and as Brad Chirac said, played a homage to their home in Oakland, right? So here's how it reads. All right, I'm going to read it to you in full right here, right now. All right, it reads like this. Athletics release first renderings of club's proposed new ballpark in Las Vegas, Oakland, California, May 26th, 2023. The Athletics today have released the first renderings of the club's proposed new ballpark in Las Vegas. Sitting on 9 acres at the Tropicana site, the ballpark will feature a variety of seating options, a partially retractable roof, and a fan capacity of 30,000, making it, that's going to change, of course, making it one of the most intimate settings in Major League Baseball. The orientation of the playing surface will allow for, the outfield to open to the corner of Tropicana and Las Vegas Boulevard. The state-of-the-art venue will be a hub for sports, entertainment, and community engagement, hosting A's games along with a diverse range of events, concerts, and community gatherings. The design pays homage to the rich history of the Athletics as well as the unique spirit of Las Vegas. Think about that. The plan will feature innovative architecture, sustainability, and environmental consciousness, and modern amenities that focus on the peak of excellence in fan experience. But this part, the design pays homage, the one that they put out, to the rich history of Athletics as well as the unique spirit of Las Vegas, says two things. First of all, hey, you know what? We're running late. So we just basically took the lower bowl of the east side of the Coliseum and extended it around. And then on top of that, we put something that looked like it could be in Las Vegas. And actually, if you take another look at it, it does pay a nod to retractable roof ballparks like T-Mobile, and also the one that Ben Garcia designed called Stadium 51 at his stadium51.com website. So that's a very important starting paragraph that tells you, for those of you who are paying attention to the whole process, and a lot of you were, hey, we're in a rush. We're making it sound good, all right? Because that's exactly what they did. But, okay, But, all right, then it reads, from the minute we stepped onto the Tropicana site nearly 2 years ago, interesting, it was immediately obvious what a fantastic fit it would be for a new A's ballpark in Las Vegas, said A's director of design and owner of Schrock KC Architecture, Brad Schrock. The natural orientation of the ballpark creates not only some of the best views and connection to the Las Vegas skyline from the seating bowl, but also opens up the ballpark to the corner in a way that creates opportunities for an amazing, energetic public space with open and expansive views into the ballpark. Now, this is the most important paragraph of the entire presentation. Okay, that paragraph I just highlighted is the most important one. Why? It reads like this. Okay, it reads this. It says, A's president Dave Kaval said, "We are excited to share our vision for the A's potential new home. As our first conceptual design, we will continue to refine the look and feel of the ballpark over the next year. We hope our project goes beyond a traditional ballpark and serves as a catalyst for community development and engagement. It follows in the footsteps and success of the professional sports teams that come before us in creating union jobs, stimulating growth, and fostering investments in the community." Now let's read that one more time. We are excited to share our vision. Look, our vision. This is not the final, this is their vision. It means this is kind of how we want it to look. We're headed in this direction. It's not certain, but this is our vision. I told you, the athletics communications people, specifically Catherine Aker, as the director of communications there and media relations, along with working with Dave Kaval and Erica and the others, really paid attention to how this was worded. Okay? How this was worded. And again, the word written for Dave to utter was vision. We are excited to share our vision for the A's potential new home, which means even then, this wasn't certain at the time. Potential new home. Why? Because as a number of you have witnessed, the Athletics started with land that was off I-15, just essentially up the block a piece from the off ramp that would lead you to the Tropicana from I-15. The fact of the matter is that they couldn't make a deal there, and Tropicana was always a number two, if not number three, if you think about the festival grounds. And so they pivoted to the Tropicana. Reportedly, Phil Ruffin has went back and forth on this. From he wanted to have them at the festival ground site in the North Strip, but then reportedly later couldn't work out a deal that was to his satisfaction from a standpoint of revenue collection, and made references to that. And then later it was revealed that there was actually a proposal for the same design that was presented for the Tropicana for the festival ground site. All right. So obviously none of that worked out, because by the time Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority President Stephen Hill and consultant Jeremy Arguello and elected officials and their staff and consultants and lobbyists got a hold of things, the Tropicana site became the one that was baked in to what was first called SB 509 and now is referred to as SB 1, the Senate bill. And so potential new home wound up, because of all that was going on at the time, potential new home as a term was used in the press release. Then it goes on to read, as our first conceptual design. That this is the biggest term of all. Our first conceptual design. Concept. Now, the A's have told you twice this is a concept. Not once, but twice. Okay? They've said this is our vision. A vision is a concept in the first sentence that Dave said. Then in the second sentence, he uses a synonym, a concept. As our first conceptual design, we will continue to refine the look and feel of the ballpark over the next year. Think about that. This is of equally great importance. We will continue to refine the look and feel of the ballpark over the next year. That tells you several things. First of all, refine means to improve upon. Why? You know it's going to be a ballpark first. Now, refining the look of it means just that. It could be with a retractable roof or not. It could look like Ben Garcia's design or not. That falls within the ballpark, pardon the phrase, of refining a design overall, a land use, and over the next year. So this is going to carry the athletics to, yeah, from this point to May, of 2024 at least. And then it continues. We hope our project goes beyond a traditional ballpark and serves as a catalyst for community development and engagement, and it follows in the footsteps and success of the professional sports teams that come before us, specifically the Raiders. All right? So they're paying homage to what the Raiders have done. The Raiders created union jobs, stimulated economic growth, and it fostered an investment in the community. Then it ends with, thanks to the vision. Again, vision of their partners. They didn't use that term, Bally's and gaming and leisure. We have the opportunity to bring baseball to one of the most energetic locations in Las Vegas. We look forward to continuing our collaboration with the Nevada governor, legislative leaders, Clark County commissioners, and the Southern Nevada community as we move forward with plans. Look, this is the other one. As we move forward with plans on our new home. There is nothing about this press release that reads permanence. Nothing. And yet it was presented as such, even as I kept saying and kept vlogging, hey, you know what? This isn't it, folks. This isn't it. The truth has found a difficult road before it in this entire affair. And it is made worse by fans of the Athletics who are consistently insisting on not reading, rather than what fans should do if you're really upset. File a lawsuit. If you're upset, sue. Okay? And I say that in big, fat letters. Sue. Sue the Athletics, sue the city of Oakland. I recommend sue in the city of Oakland. I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, suing the Athletics is a tough road, because on what basis are you going to sue them? They told everybody they were going down parallel paths. They copied the best parts of the NFL's approach that was used to get the Raiders out of Oakland to Las Vegas, and they took out and removed the worst parts of it, which is basically the hubris that the Raiders and the NFL acted with respect to Oakland, which basically let them do it and didn't respond until the late Godfather Grizz and Forever Oakland, together with Ray Bobbitt, forced them to change their stance. That's what happened. Were it not for the late Godfather Grizz and Forever Oakland, rest in peace, the Godfather, it's a fact, there may not have been a lawsuit. Okay? And not just Godfather Grizz, other folks who are involved in that. Breen Dixon, excuse me. I think to a lesser extent, unfortunately, Dr. Death, he was kind of in and out of that. And the list goes on. It was a large cast of characters that were involved in that. But you don't have that equivalent this time. What you have are A's fans collectively communicating the idea that they're fighting for their right to party. In other words, hey, as reflected by the reverse boycott, this is about our desire to maintain this place where we get together with each other. And that's that. It's not, hey, we are really fans of the organization to the point where we will do anything to make them stay, including filing a lawsuit against both them and the city. That has not happened. And it's not like there aren't lawyers within the bunch that can do that. There are. But I'm being absolutely blunt with you. Fan bases, when they really want something to happen, move the institutional needle. They don't make themselves fodder for media like the what's left of the online print media and broadcast journalism in the Bay Area, or broadcast media, not so much journalism in the Bay Area. But that's what's happened. And that's happened not just if you take us out of the situation regarding the A's for a moment. That's happened with a lot of efforts that people thought they were making progress with. Well, let's take Occupy Oakland, which was really the first stab at this problem of greed harming our society and high rents and everything else that we've talked about since Occupy Oakland's inception in 2011. All right. Look at the number of riots that occurred in Oakland. What did they achieve? They achieved nothing but viral videos, let's face it, for media that needed money to get, from the clicks and hits and engagements. That's a fact. That's the only organization, the new media approach, or those that practice, including me, all right, that benefited from it. That is it. The only time that we've had a wrench toward change, similarly but interestingly, was after what happened to George Floyd, because we saw it. That was the one time that engagements, hits, and views equaled social change, and had to be at that level, but for a level that impacted even going from the BART shooting all the way up. You can make a powerful argument that society hasn't changed as much as it should. I'm making that argument. And the people who make those fixes and change think that what they are doing on social media is enough. And they don't file lawsuits. They don't band together. And they spend their time looking for enemies on social media. Does that sound familiar? Okay. You see what I'm getting at? You've been had, A's fans. You've been used. Your ability to get together en masse has been used against you. Allowing you to expend your energy, thinking that you did this one thing and that's enough, and there's going to be change, when in point of fact, you got nothing. You got the mayor using you because you don't understand government, so you think that as long as the mayor makes an appearance or says something and winds up in the publications you feel are important, she's done something. When in point of fact, when you actually begin to look at the pictures, you find that she didn't take the people to see the commissioner who could get the job done. She took, among the 4 people, 3 from the mayor's office staff. And I'm not talking about people who are in economic development, nope, or the city administrator, nope. No, we're talking about her communications director and her chief of staff and herself. And the 4th person was the project manager, Molly Mabry. That's it. That's not collectively the group you take to say, hey, we can build a ballpark. But the majority of you as A's fans bought it hook, line, and sinker. All right? You bought it hook, line, and sinker. And you continue to. Oh, that's just Zinni talking. Hey, I don't care. Just spell my name right. But I'm also correct. Okay? You've done nothing, nothing, nada, zilch to effectively, truly move the needle on this. And guess what's happening with each passing day? That's right, the passage of time. There is one organization that has the incentive to get through this in a timely fashion, and that happens to be the Oakland Athletics, not you. You're busy. You've got kids to take care of, relationships to maintain with your husband or wife or significant other. You're living your life. You're not paid to do this. But Dave Kaval and company are. And John Fisher, that's his investment. They have a reason to be involved in it, as does Major League Baseball, which desperately wants to get out of the bad situation that Oakland is in because Oakland has shown no desire to change itself. I've said this over 37 years. I've seen enough, including what I experienced privately this week. Oakland is in gigantic trouble on a scale never before seen. Huge. And with that, I will get to your comments here. Let me go back beyond. Hi, Mark. Hey, we go back and go up here. Area 52 field is coming. That's funny. Yeah. Ben Garcia. Much love and respect to my man Zinni. Thank you. Much love and respect to you. We appreciate you and your input. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Difference between Kansas City and Oakland, says Timon. How you doing? Both have a similar record now. Kansas City is spending $1 billion of public money to build a new stadium to keep them. Oakland sell the team. But I think the difference between Kansas City and Oakland is that Kansas City's fan base. First of all, Kansas City is a freestanding city on its own. You know what Oakland's biggest problem is? The existence of San Francisco right next door. I said this when I was working to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland. We lost to Jacksonville. I said that everybody expects us to do nothing. Even Jerry Brown said when he was the mayor, he was the mayor of Oakland, he said, to a group of visitors from China, hey, why are you staying in Oakland? You should be staying in San Francisco. All right. And I ran into him at the Balboa Cafe, where we both like to hang out in the Marina District, one of my favorite places to go. Fulmar and Greenwich, if you're ever in the Bay Area, please go there. Partially owned by California Governor Gavin Newsom, partial owner Plump Jack. At any rate, I'm sitting at the bar. I see the door walking. I saw Jerry's reflection. Turn around and says, he says, hey, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be working on the Super Bowl. I said, I am. I'm raising money. Which is true, for anybody that knows the Balboa Cafe and its owners, I kind of gave you a hint. But my point is, Oakland was then and is now more so considered a second fiddle and now arguably a third tier fiddle city. Why? We don't have any professional sports teams. Zero. I don't care what anyone says. That is the mark upon which you judge whether or not a city is first tier. Does that city have professional sports? Because if it does, then you get Fortune 500, as we used to say, companies. It generates people who are wealthy. It is its own freestanding entity. You cannot change these facts. Professional sports matter to how we judge an urban area. Back to Kansas City, it doesn't have a San Francisco next to it to basically sit next to it and then communicate the idea that it is number one and Oakland is not. San Francisco media has done an awesome job of putting down Oakland over the years, so much so that Oakland should sue the owners of San Francisco media and recover the economic costs levied upon it by the way SF-based media has covered Oakland over the decades. I am not kidding you. All right? Las Vegas A's is happening. It is. Okay. And like I said, it says chances Oakland A's stay in Oakland, just curious city? No. It's too late. All right. The only way, the only way that the A's will wind up halting their efforts to move out of Oakland to Las Vegas is if the federal government intervened for some crazy reason. Or let's say there was legislation that put full stop on relocation of any sports organization right now, even if you were in the middle of it. That would be a hell of a bill. It would also be a bill that wouldn't pass, but let's say that it did. If it did, that would be the only way the A's fans would have any chance in Hades of achieving the improbable objective of ceasing the move of the Athletics to Las Vegas. That's the only way. There is no other way. Oakland cannot get away with doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a positive outcome with respect to the retention of sports organizations. You cannot slow roll stadium renovations. For all of you who talk about what John Fisher should have done or paid for, I offer you the fact that the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority did next to nothing in improving the leasehold that is the Coliseum. Such things as, for example, we had our 140 item punch list because I worked for Elihu Harris as economic advisor from 1995 to 1999, and Elihu gave me responsibility for everything in terms of a review from redevelopment to the Raiders, his words. And so what I discovered in this punch list that I found on the 5th floor of City Hall was there are 140 items not done at that point in time, and this was 1996 when I found it, 1998 when I found it, actually. It's 1997 when I found it, I'm sorry, in 97, since the Raiders returned to Oakland. Such items as replacing the luxury suite baseboards. If you go in, some of them are just ratty, and they're still ratty today on the west side, all right? And they're not much different on the east side now for wear. Then there's other items in there that are there are 140 of them, is a lot. That means you haven't spent the necessary investment to keep your facility up. And then we had a contract with State Spectacor Management Group, SMG, that said, hey, basically it gave SMG the right to defer maintenance. And that maintenance deferral was how they made their money. Yeah, they floated on the difference between the revenue coming in that they were able to take and the cost to make those repairs. That's a fact. I raised holy blankety blank about that way back there in 2006 in my blog. This is now 2023. All right. We have not effectively allowed the JPA to become, and this is inside baseball, the effective replacement, I use that word twice, of the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Corporation, of which George Vukasin, the late George Vukasin, was president. We set up the JPA originally to do nothing else but float the bond issue to build the east side wing of the stadium, the Coliseum Stadium. And then when the PSL sales went, in other words, in detail, we're supposed to sell 83.6 million of them, but we only wound up selling just north of 53 million of them, which is, a big gap, right? At that point, boom, according to the way the bond issue was written, the bond underwriters had the right to demand from the city and the county 10 million apiece, or 20 million a year. And at that point, in 1996, Oakland City Council President Ignacio de la Fuente said, look, we're going to restructure the JPA because it's our money now. In other words, he created the seats for a large group of people to sit on it. Originally, it was just the county administrator and the city managers, we called them then, and that was it, with the option of having one council member and one supervisor. That's it. But they expanded it. 2 county supervisors, 2 city council members. But get this, also a provision to add as many as 20 members of the business community. Ladies and gentlemen, do you realize that to this day, that provision has never been activated? Ever. Yeah, I'm telling you that. The Coliseum Joint Powers Authority, specifically really the city of Oakland and Alameda County politicians, have left out the business community for decades. They don't want the business community's voice involved effectively in the operation of the Coliseum. The enabling legislation that Ezra Report wrote calls for a 20-seat provision. 20. Not 10, 20. You hear what I'm saying? We're not operating JPA right. All right. They need to let it go to the A's are moving and relocating Las Vegas, says Mark Thompson. The A's can't stay. Otherwise, they will be in bankruptcy and most likely not an MLB team anymore. That is a real possibility. In fact, in 2009, as I pointed out before, Major League Baseball had considered the A's for contraction. Excuse me. I think I missed. Hold on a second. Bring here. Yeah. Someone's giving me a thumbs up to Mark there. I'm hyped to see the new stadium, he says. Teague one, how do I pronounce that? I don't know. Writes, the media pushed Fisher hate instead of what needs to be done to keep them. Pushing the A's in government. Some Bay Area reporters are nothing more than the internet trolls now, embarrassing and wrong. That's true. Although I need to offer that, in fairness, it was actually the fans that pushed the Fisher hate, and the media, in an effort to continue to get the traffic from those who will follow them, kept communicating that. That's why there are other vloggers who work for the mainstream media and are on YouTube who get big numbers for talking, bigger than mine, because A's fans would rather hear lies than the truth. And some say, hey, look, you keep putting A's fans down. I'm not putting anyone down intentionally, but I am being constructively critical. Because if athletics fans would exhibit, and I'll be blunt, what some interest in doing or taking actions the way that I am instructing, I would be less critical. That's human nature. Now, for those of you who think I have no business saying that, I say, yes, actually, 37 years of experience says I do. And I'm not concerned about who doesn't like that. And that's the other part, too. This is a generational difference. Younger generations today are not of the mind to say they're the best, that they should do something. It only happens in athletics, but it doesn't happen in normal life. You're supposed to be quiet and introverted. Folks, that gets you nowhere, okay? It gets you mentally ill. It gets you angry. It gets you upset. It can drive you insane. You're subordinating your true self as a person, particularly if you're in a situation where you're consistently not getting your due, and then people tell you to not say anything about it. No, not at all. I wasn't raised that way. So you want to call me Boomer? I say, you know what? That's Mr. Boomer to you. I wonder if the new baseball stadium will host the WrestleMania next decade. You know something I want to say about that? It is a mistake for Dave Kaval. I'll make a separate vlog about this, to go out there and say, hey, you know what? We like an open air feeling. In other words, sending out the message there may not be a retractable roof. That is a gigantic error. I don't know what the Athletics are smoking, but to put that out there and then say we're going to have 95 events, all right, it's a classic Kabbalism. What I mean by that is Dave, in an interest to satisfy a particular party's objective, somebody back there that he's working with that feels like, hey, maybe this roof is too expensive, or maybe there's another design, or maybe it's John Fisher himself saying that. Somebody is driving him to say this. Doesn't stop to think, well, wait a minute. All right. Wait a minute. Isn't the revenue, from a retractable roof stadium better than its open air counterpart? And the answer is yes. Okay. The answer is yes, it is. It is. Why? Very simply, because what happens is that a a a retractable roof allows you to effectively build a convention center. It goes from an outdoor arena, you know, where you can't have events because it's raining. And even if you say you're going to have a partial cover over the fans, I'm telling you, folks, when the rain starts dropping sideways, that idea gets blown up real quick. Okay. It doesn't work. All right. But if you have a domed facility, you can have everything from the world's largest wedding or the world's largest birthday party, a bar mitzvah, to, hey, a pet show, dog show, gymnastics contest, Final Four for the college ranks, women's bodybuilding on a large scale, extreme sports events, a gigantic number of events, the interruption of which would not happen because they occur under that dome. That, now what does all that equal? It equals loss, not just loss of revenue from the production of those events, but it arguably drives down the total visitation to the facility, which means that that's less tax money that will go into the retirement of the bond issue. And I'm not saying the bond issue won't be retired, it will. But I'm saying that nice little surplus that they're going to have anyway will be less with an open air stadium. So for Dave Kaval to make that statement was as large an error as he did when he said, hey, I've got 12 billion I'm going to spend. Well, he didn't say it that way. We're going to build a $12 billion facility. And then he said that's a $12 billion economic impact, which was wrong. But at the same time he talked about it, there was the discussion of tax increment financing. This is back in 2021, May, and then enhanced infrastructure financing districts. All right. But see, Dave, when he blurted out the $12 billion total cost, which is actually phased, starting with the ballpark and then working way up over 9 to 14-year period, he forgot to mention how much tax increment revenue that would generate. The answer is, assuming a 4% rate of growth in assessed value over a 45-year period, starting with a 2%, starting with a $2 billion assessed value and then going up to 12 billion, 9.7 billion. That's a huge amount of money. You cut that in half, there's your bond issue. All right. I texted Dave and said, hey, what are you doing? I was giving a nickel's worth of free advice. I was on the base payroll, just acting as a friend. Don't do that, man. If you're going to do that, talking about 12 billion, tell them what the increment revenue will be. And then we have plans to spend it through the infrastructure financing plan. But hey, the reason why I have my own media company is because I know that people are not going to listen to me, but I want it on record that I said it. That's why when you go back through history, I can give you a keyword and say, go here, here, and here. And you can find that I said it. That's why. To counter all those times when I'm going to say something some of you don't like, all right, but it's true that black people, and in Oakland, black men, Oakland's government has a history of chasing away smart black men. That's not from me. That's from a secretary that worked for Austin Penny, who was one of my bosses when I was an intern with the city of Oakland. All right, I am giving you information you will never get anywhere else. No one wants the truth, and Oakland needs to improve big time. Oakland's got a lot of problems that have been long-standing in nature, and they've just gotten worse. Back then, the idea was, hey, if you're black and you're a public official, you must be there because of your affirmative action, and then they would automatically assume you didn't know what you were doing. And the people who would say that were generally white and had no idea what they were doing either. A fact which always came because we didn't have the internet, right? When you actually met those folks and you were able to test them on what they knew, and it came up to be nada. Nada. All right? The fact of the matter is, regardless of what a person looks like, there's just one fact. People get into these jobs and they hire their friends. That's what happens with Howard Terminal. Betsy Lake Howard hired her old friend, Molly Mayburn. Molly said so at one point, and I have it on video, in her Instagram, in her LinkedIn post about her jobs. All right? So, there you go. Mark Thompson, the Oakland mayor also did not bring anyone of major political power or celebrity power, like Tom Hanks, I'm adding that in, or anyone of significance to change the direction with the owners. That's correct. Wow, man, you were right on. Sadly, Mark says, San Francisco has always been overshadowed by Oakland. Yeah, it was. And the media treated us like, hey, you're going after the Super Bowl? It took me a year of haggling with the San Francisco Chronicle and the editorial page editor John Diaz. I even took him to dinner at Olivetta, the whole 9 yards, to get a positive opinion piece out of him and that organization in 1999 regarding our pursuit of the Super Bowl. He then turned around the very next year and sandbagged me. That's all water under the bridge. I yelled at him. He yelled at me back. That's what you did in those days. And then you had dinner. I love that. It's not this, social media stuff where people say things under a fake name and all that. You got something to say, call me, right? Have me on your show. Let's talk. That's the way people do it. I told you there are some people who weren't going to like it. I went from 19 to 15. Got it. I know my audience. Jay Belton says, and that stage prop stack of paper on a luggage cart that the mayor took to MLB meetings to make owners read word for word. Oh, okay. No, I take that seriously. I don't put them down for putting that together. And the reason why I don't is this. What they were saying, even though I don't agree with it, is, hey, look, here is our term sheet. The one the A's rejected, I might add, in book form. That's what they did. Now, that's essentially, pouring crap on crap, pushing something that the Athletics rejected as, hey, we have a plan. That's wrong. But that's what they were doing. They didn't finish the plan either. That was worse. Why? There's no completed enhanced infrastructure financing district. There's no evidence of collecting tax increment revenue. There's no idea of when they will have an actual city council meeting to finally approve the development agreement, let alone what that agreement will look like. It was wrong. But the effort had to be done because what the mayor was trying to do was saying, yes, Zenny, I know that we didn't have all of our ducks in a row, but I wanted to show the commissioner of baseball and his staff that we had indeed been hard at work. And that's true. I may not like how they did the work. I feel that how they did the work was wrong. I've said it a number of times, but you can't argue the fact that they did the work. That's true. Incomplete, yes, but they did the work. Vegas should go with translucent roof instead of retractable. Like the Raiders, I think so. Am I the only A's fan that's excited to see the A's go to Las Vegas? Now I'm excited to see them go because I believe they need a better home. I'm excited to see the organization in a better place. And some of you have said you just want to punish Oakland. And I've said that. Yeah, I do. You're looking at a guy who's been very scarred and abused by a number of people within the city of Oakland over a long period of years simply because I wanted to do what I was hired to do as an intern, help improve my city and use my abilities in terms of analysis toward that effort. And I thought I would meet like minded people, and I didn't. I learned a hard lesson. I met people who were not, skunk works for Oakland. But as my boss, Elihu Harris, once said, when I worked for him, he said, Zenny, use those brains on yourself because, as you can tell, no one else cares. That's Oakland, folks. Those folks are there to make their own lives better first, which is fine, but it becomes at the exclusion of improving the city. And that dynamic has become greater as housing costs have become greater. The graph looks just like this. Okay? And that's the problem. Every change that Oakland has went through from a socioeconomic and political standpoint over the past 7 years has been driven by high housing costs. That's the main driver. I think the new Las Vegas ballpark, Mark says, stadium should have an entire side of the stadium that faces the Las Vegas Strip, like a huge window and maybe half the roof connected to the big window. Okay. He likes that idea. DeLeon says, I'm excited for the A's to come to Vegas. DeLeon. Mark Thompson says, I actually like 15 minutes from the Las Vegas Strip, and I drive for Uber and Lyft as a rideshare driver here also in my free time. He says, live. He says, oh, that's lit. This is the Vegas people talking. He says, yeah, I've lived in Vegas for almost 5 years. It will be September. I love living here because it's never boring and there's always something to do and so much entertainment and fun. He says, when will the MLD teams vote? How soon? Well, I don't anticipate that being soon, primarily because there's a lot of work to be done getting the design out of the way. And I don't fancy that unless the league wants to change how it does that. I don't fancy that they're going to get to it until November, because then they want to see exactly what's going to go down there and then give the approval. That's just my educated guess on it. Could be wrong. It says, when or how soon should we know the A's are definitely relocating to Las Vegas, and when will the shovel hit the dirt? The A's are definitely relocating. All right. But the A's have work to do to go from here to there. So don't get it twisted. The effort required to go to Las Vegas includes being properly prepared for presentation to the Major League Baseball owners. You can't just draw something on a napkin and say, well, here's what I'm going to do. Tom says, they're planning on, as of right now, demolishing the Tropicana 18 months, but it's subject to time change. Yeah, that part, though, is not tied to Major League Baseball approval. Possibility 2027 for full completion and start of the A's playing in the Las Vegas Strip Stadium. Hey, Rick, how you doing? Thank you very much for your questions. I think I should get to that too. But I was going to do a separate video on that one. Would love to go to tennis stadium once it's built. And he says, here's what I believe. Oakland government and media needs to let the A's go, then work toward bringing other sports and possibility possibly expansion team in, but it needs to fix its many problems first. Actually, one of its problems is in how it views that sports is economic development. You've got the former Oakland Panthers that are now the Bay Area Panthers that want to move and have put Oakland on the list as one of those places that they want to consider. Will Oakland respond is the other question. And of course, you have the roots and the soul, but Oakland needs to hit a home run and say, we're going to bring NFL football back here. That is the big giant effort. And Oakland should do that for no other reason than civic pride, because our pride has been hit. And if you don't think it has been hit and you're an Oaklander, please get out of my town. I'm serious. I'm tired of this mealy mouth stuff. We have to believe we can win, not, oh, I'm happy to go to San Francisco because, well, the Warriors are retained. San Francisco is happy to take the Warriors from us, and Ed Lee said so. I have the video to prove it. Okay? All right? Hey, Rick. Thank you for explaining that to me, Zen. You're welcome, Jay. Would love to go to tennis stadium when it's built. That's the other thing. We have the arena, Kate. We can do tennis. I was there, Billie Jean King versus Margaret Court. I was right there as a photographer thanks to my classmate in junior high school, Richard Lieberman. Richard could talk the skin off a cow. Seriously. Okay? That's how we got on the court there. My point is we had tennis there. We can have our own tennis tournaments now. We don't have a sports commission in Oakland to plan these things. Okay? Here's what I believe. Oakland government and media need to I think I got that. All right. I said that. Rick says there is no way 9,000 Las Vegas visitors will go to each A's game for 30 years. Steve Hill stated 4,500 people will come from out of town for each game. The current A's fans will not go to Vegas. But Rick, that's not the point. I wish I had this study. It had a neat Venn diagram. But what it presented is that what the standard sports marketer is after, listen to me, Rick, are not Las Vegas A's fans. They're after the casual person who might say, hey, it's a beautiful day. Oh, A's game, I can go there for cheap. Why not? Why not? And in a city like Las Vegas, which entertains 40 million visitors and is, I believe, and I project on pace to attract 1 million more residents over the next decade, but those numbers are not impossible to achieve at all. Do not discount them. I'm just giving you a warning. I learned that from the Raiders issue. What you don't understand is that because of the internet today, the idea of what a market is has been altered. A lot of you think in terms of television markets, but you don't even bother to think in terms of internet market. There is that too. All right. So take a chill pill on the market as you view it and change and alter your thinking to view it from a 21st century perspective. You have two types of markets, television and internet. And in internet, to the victor, which is the person, an organization, or city that has the team, go the spoils of internet traffic, which serve as free marketing for that organization, city, or group. Understand? That has got no point where it offsets television. That's where we are today, Rick. I learned that the hard way. The Raiders matter hurt me a lot. But when things hurt me, I say, what do I learn? What is it that we should have done, and how can we do it differently next time? Oakland did not approach it that way, Rick. I'm telling you that. Okay? Libby went and made the same mistake again, putting her face in front of it, making it all about her as mayor. And that's it. And that's truth. Shang did the same thing. Okay? John Revolution, I'm excited to see the A's in Vegas. Once upon a time, there was poll that only 6% wanted hockey in Vegas. Vegas has 13 professional sports and 14 once the A's play their first game. Since I agree the Oakland media and government don't treat it as high priority and it will never happen. And I think they believe sports is number 64 priority now. That's the problem. They don't see sports as, hey, look, this is another way to people to get employment to make ends meet. It's got to be all high level. It's been like that since 96. We have to have the biotech. Well, what up? Wait a minute. Can the common Oaklander work in biotech? No. We got to have them anyway. So what does it mean? Well, what it really meant, folks, it meant a displacement of people. That's really what happened. And you had elected officials behind that too. Council and board of supervisors pushing people who had no background in tech, pushing tech and not even asking the question, what does it mean for the labor base and housing costs? Mark Thompson, most people today don't have cable television anymore. Thank you. Cord cutting. What people forget, 80% of the USA is not close to an MLB team. So they can go to Vegas on holiday and see a game in their free time. It's the same thing as conventions and gambling. Thank you. And by the way, let's not forget something else. Sports gambling is not in California. All right, folks, it's the top of the hour. I want to thank you. Because one more, John Revolution, I'll close with this. Says Rick doesn't realize that families are moving here. A house costs $381,000 in Vegas, Oakland, $791,000. Families will be able to afford baseball in Vegas. And there you go. All right, Rick, and my next one, Rick, I promise you I'll be focused on what you asked me. All right. Live long and prosper, everybody. Subscribe to Zenny62. Bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com. That ends this